Hello there. Tonight, instead of beginning with long explanations, we will go straight into a very quiet scene. A scene where, if you simply let your eyes soften a little, your whole body will know how to slow down on its own. Imagine the sky in front of you. Not a deep, heavy darkness like usual, but a sheet of soft black silk stretched lightly between the two ends of the night. There is no sound, no one calling you, nothing you need to finish. Only a thin curve of quiet sky resting above you. And then, on this black silk, a very small streak of light appears. So small that if you blink, you might miss it. A streak of light that does not try to draw attention, does not shine loudly, does not hurry, does not ask you to look at it. It only drifts. A movement so slow, it is almost impossible to tell apart from stillness. As if the entire universe is trying to let out a breath, but the breath is too soft to make a sound. A quiet streak of light, gliding along the edge of the sky. You may not know where it came from. You do not need to. In this moment, that small streak has only one purpose: to guide your mind away from the noise of the day and into the space the universe prepares, especially for tired nights. The farther it drifts, the softer the sky becomes, as if its faint glow is smoothing every wrinkle in the darkness. There is nothing here to memorize, nothing to analyze, nothing that asks you to stay awake, only a soft, hazy line of light, light as mist on a window, being carried by the night at its own pace. You watch the streak of light, but your eyes do not strain. Instead, they grow heavier, warmer, as if the gravity of the night is calling you gently. The stars above stay still, but that drifting line, that quiet, slow-moving streak, feels like the very first invitation to step outside the weight of the world and slide into a place where everything settles. You do not need to know what it is. You do not need to know its name. You do not need to know how far away it is. Because here, in this warm, quiet air, nothing requires your understanding. You only need to let yourself drift with it. Its pace is slow. Yours can slow to match it. No pressure. No footsteps of thoughts chasing you. No one behind you. Only the darkness and a soft streak of light, stretching a gentle line across a wide, quiet sky. You may imagine that this light is not coming from somewhere far, but from another layer of this same night, a layer where everything is softer, worries fade, and only the outlines of calm remain. As you look at it, the space around you seems to open slowly, not by force, but by release. Like the surface of water when you place your hand in it. It does not resist. It simply forms a few small ripples to welcome you. The streak keeps drifting, but you realize even drifting is only a word for a feeling, not an actual motion. It might be still. It might be moving. It might be slipping into a deeper layer of night. It does not matter. What matters is that you are stepping into the space. This streak of light opens for you. A space, not too bright, not too dark, not too wide, not too close. Just enough. Enough for you to breathe. Enough for you to let go. Enough for you to place everything behind you and keep only one thing: the feeling of floating in the night, free from everything that tried to hold on. In this moment, you are not in a room, not inside the patterns of the day. not inside your list of tasks. You are within a drifting streak of light on a quiet sky. And that little streak is gently opening the story of tonight. Not a story that begins with explanation, not a story that begins with a question, not a story you need to follow detail by detail. This is a story told through light, through darkness, and through the soft motion of things that have drifted for millions of years, just to meet you right now. Tonight, you do not need to understand. You only need to let yourself be carried. Because every sleepy science journey always begins the same way. A quiet streak of light drifting along the edge of the sky, and your mind becoming still. Let tonight keep opening, like a thin curtain being pulled softly to the side, revealing a kind of light that has traveled farther than any human thought could ever reach. At the edge of the sky where darkness does not try to hide, and light does not try to shine brightly, there is a thin streak of brightness, so faint, it feels like someone placed a fingertip against the glass of the night and left a small, gentle trace. That faint streak is Andromeda, not the roaring galaxy from movies, not a spiraling storm of blinding light, not a lantern so bright you have to squint. Andromeda appears like a fingerprint of light pressed onto the glass of the universe, soft, thin, and blurred just enough that you have to look for a while to realize it is not your imagination. The moment you see it, you are not looking at the sky of tonight. You are looking into another time. A time when Earth did not yet know your name. A time 2.5 million years in the past, when the first stars of Andromeda sent out the light now arriving to you. Those photons did not rush. They did not burn through the dark. They did not try to outrun each other. They simply traveled, tiny step after tiny step, through space that expanded millions of times, through nameless dark, through cold stretches nothing wished to remain in. And tonight, as you lift your eyes and let your eyelids fall into the rhythm of the universe, that light has finally arrived. If you stand under a truly dark sky, dark like a room with no afterglow, dark like a candle just blown out, dark like a forest where even the wind chooses to rest, Andromeda does not appear with force. It appears with patience. A thin band of light, faint as breath on glass, drifting like a faraway thought. You do not need binoculars. You do not need a telescope. You do not need knowledge. You only need your eyes to soften and your mind to settle. Then Andromeda will appear exactly as it really is, a reflection of the past that somehow exists in the present, where you are lying quietly. There are not many objects in the universe that let you see history simply by looking up, but Andromeda is one of the few. It does not tell its story through sound or motion. It tells it through light that left home millions of years ago. Imagine this. A star in Andromeda released its light at a time when Earth had no cities, no people, no languages, no history, only ancient grasslands, and winds no one recorded. That light left on a morning long gone, moving through darkness no creature could see, moving through silence beyond description. And tonight, the light meets you, not because it chose you, but because you are the one whose eyes are open at the exact moment it arrives. You do not need to know the name of that star. You do not need to know where it sits in the spiral arms. You do not need to remember any numbers. You only need to know one thing. You are looking into the past with your own eyes. And that past does not look old. It has no yellow tint of age, no faded lines, no hint that it comes from another era. It appears as a simple mark of light, thin as mist. And the wonder is this: we do not only see it, we feel it. We feel it by relaxing our eyes and letting the sky do the rest. Andromeda is not only the largest galaxy in the local group, it is the closest one your naked eye can truly touch. In the sky, it appears as a pale white brushstroke, not sparkling, not sharp, not threatening. It is gentle, a gentleness shaped by its long journey, by time softening its original glow, by distance turning everything into a warm night lamp blur. There is something about Andromeda you can only sense when you lie completely still. It does not move fast. It does not force its way closer. It only drifts in the way the universe drifts. A drift unlike anything on Earth. A drift that has no sound, no pressure, no trace. It feels like a soft thought, moving quietly from one side of the mind to the other, and only becoming noticeable as it begins to fade. If you watch Andromeda long enough, you notice it does not stay small. It grows, not in your eyes, but in your mind. It fills the night in a gentle, natural way, as if the darkness itself wants to make room for it. On the clearest nights, when the sky is empty of clouds, and the air cold enough to keep everything sharp, Andromeda can stretch as wide as your thumbnail. If you hold your hand up to the sky, one thumbnail, 2.5 million light years away, one thumbnail, containing 1 trillion stars, one thumbnail, sent from a time when the world had no version of you. But none of those numbers matter tonight. What matters is how it feels to look at it. The feeling of touching the past, without turning time backward. The feeling of receiving a message carried across the entire length of the universe, arriving exactly when your eyes are open. The feeling that the universe is not cold at all. It is always telling stories, just at a pace, soft enough to let you sleep. If you let your eyes soften just a little more, you will notice that Andromeda is not only a faint streak of light, it is a giant city of stars, so large that even from 2.5 million light-years away, it still leaves a thin fingerprint on the night sky. But the strangest part is not its size, it is its softness. There are lights that are very strong, like headlights rushing past you in the night. There are lights that are very close, like a candle beside your bed. There are sharp lights, like young blue-white stars just being born. But the light from Andromeda is not like any of those. Its light is like a whisper not aimed at you, but one that finds you. After a journey so long, it may have forgotten where it began. If you place your hand on your chest and feel the rhythm of your heart, you will notice that warmth does not come from temperature. It comes from life. The light of Andromeda is like that too. It is not warm in any physical sense. It does not touch your skin. It does not brighten the sky like the Sunday. But when you look at it long enough, you feel a different kind of warmth. A warmth that comes from knowing that light existed long before you did, and still chose to arrive for you tonight. In a way, The light of Andromeda is the light of patience, because each photon, when it left its parent star, did not know where it would go, did not know what place it would reach, did not know if anyone would ever see it. It only moved forward, step by tiny step, like a wandering traveler with no name, passing through cold dark without complaint, passing through expanding space, wider and wider, as the universe continued to breathe. And finally, it found you, the late-night soul, looking up at the sky. That is why, when you look at Andromeda, you do not just see a faint streak. You see time. Usually, to look into the past, humans must dig, must search ruins, must preserve artifacts, must follow traces left on the ground. But with Andromeda, you do not need to do anything. You simply look. When you look at that thin glow, you are looking at a moment when the world had no idea you would exist. The sky back then had no cities, no highways, no satellites, no artificial lights, only wind moving across raw grasslands and young mountains still shaping themselves. If you close your eyes for a moment, you might imagine that the light touching you now once lit a version of Earth, with no cars, no voices, no human footsteps. Looking at Andromeda is looking at a moment when life had not yet named itself life. And strangely, even though that past is so distant, you can still feel it, simply by raising your eyes to the sky. If you could fly to its edge and see Andromeda as an actual object, you would find it is not a blur. It is not a speck. It is not a fingerprint of light. It is a swirling city so large that even the sounds of the universe passing through it would seem to slow down. A spiral disk, larger than our Milky Way, a structure of light, more than 220,000 light years across, a place that holds 700 billion to 1 trillion stars. Each star a sun, each sun a story. But the most beautiful thing is not how large it is. It is how small it becomes in your eyes, and how that smallness makes it softer than anything else in the night. Like a massive ship, far out on the sea, seen from the shore as a tiny drifting dot among the waves. You know it is huge, but it does not need to look huge. It only needs to be soft enough to calm you. This is what makes Andromeda a special gift for quiet nights. No telescope needed, no equipment, no astronomy knowledge, just darkness and patience, and Andromeda will reveal itself. It does not shout like a meteor. It does not flash like lightning. It is not sharp like the morning star. It is simply faint and peaceful, like a candle placed at the far end of a room. You know it is there, but it does not demand your attention. Among the trillions of galaxies in the universe, Andromeda is one of the very few you can see with your own eyes. And that, in a universe so vast, no word can describe it, is rare enough to feel unreal. When you look at Andromeda, you do not see distance. You only see presence. A presence not related to today, not related to tomorrow, not tied to anything on your to-do list. It is the presence of something from an age you can never touch, yet it stands in front of you, so gently. If the space between you and Andromeda seems to shrink while you look at it, it is not because the light moved closer to you. It is because your mind expanded. When a person is stressed, their inner space becomes small. But when a person lets go, their space opens. Andromeda does not change. You become quiet enough to feel a galaxy 2.5 million light years away, as if it were a breath. You see it with stillness. Some things, when seen with the eyes, look small, but when seen with stillness, become infinite. Andromeda is exactly that. Tonight, no matter where you are, whether the sky is cloudy or clear, as long as you imagine it, you can still see it. A soft fingerprint of light, placed gently on the glass of the night, and in that moment, you are touching a story that began 2.5 million years ago and ends right now in your eyes. Let your mind soften now, because this part is not about giant numbers or complicated sky maps. We will not measure anything. We will not compare. We will not try to understand. We will simply feel. Feel in the way your imagination slowly melts under the dim light of Andromeda, like morning mist fading on a window pane. In the daytime world, we are used to sizes measured, with rulers, with footsteps, with familiar distances. But tonight, all units sink into the dark. No meters, no kilometers, no light years. Only the width of a circle of light opening its arms in front of you. Imagine this. Andromeda is not a galaxy, not a spiral structure, not an island of hundreds of billions of suns. It is simply an arm of light, wide, warm, and opening slowly like a gesture that wants to embrace the entire sky. That arm is so wide you cannot see its edges, so wide you cannot think of words for it, so wide that your imagination can only melt into the image it creates. No numbers needed, only this feeling. It is so large that all I can do is let myself fall into it. People often think that large means measurable, but in the universe, large is not a length. Large is something opening inside you. When you look at Andromeda, you do not see it covering the whole sky. It is still just a soft streak, but what makes it large is not the space it takes up. It is the space it gives you. Andromeda does not push into the night. It does not demand attention. It does not shove aside nearby stars. It exists like a quiet pause in which everything else becomes lighter. And when that pause grows slowly, something inside you grows with it. This is the kind of size numbers cannot describe. This is the kind of size only the night understands. If you watch Andromeda in your imagination, you may notice it is not still. It is like a wave of light. No crashing, no pushing, no rushing, only rising and falling and leaving silence in the place it just passed through. This is how you feel the scale of Andromeda. Rise when you sense it opening wider than the night sky. Fall when it returns to a faint streak. Quiet when your mind enters a place beyond definitions. 3 rhythms, like 3 soft waves, rocking your imagination. When you feel that arm opening, that is the rise. When you see it shrink into a faint glow, that is the fall. when the space around it becomes calm as a still lake, that is the quiet. A great galaxy never needs to show its power. It only needs to create rhythms like these. 3 sleepy rhythms. 3 rhythms that let your mind drift. 3 rhythms that measure its size, not with numbers, but with softness. Imagine looking at a field stretching endlessly, so far that you cannot see the end, so far that your eyes lower, because they cannot follow it anymore. And then, the only thing you feel is not the field itself, but the wind. The wind is what remains. When your eyes can no longer hold the distance, Andromeda is the same. When its size goes beyond your imagination, it does not let you get lost. It lets you soften the way someone lets go of a railing and lowers their body into warm water. Soften the way daytime thoughts fall away slowly, like leaves drifting onto a night lake. Soften in a way that makes you stop wanting to know how large it is and simply stand still and let it open inside you. The size of Andromeda does not exist to overwhelm you. It exists to soothe you with what lies beyond understanding, to soothe you with what stretches past measurement, to soothe you with the idea that the greatest things the universe makes are also the gentlest. If all the stars in the night sky were gathered up, brought together, and set aside in one corner, leaving only Andromeda, you would notice this. It could become a sky of its own. It does not need billions of neighboring stars to define its place. It does not need constellations to give it a frame. It does not need Earth to give it meaning. By itself, it is already a sky. When you look at it, the nearby stars become tiny marks along the edges of a much larger page. And Andromeda becomes that page, a sky of its own, written in faint light, stretched across hundreds of thousands of years, a sky that never needed anyone to watch it. But if you look, it lets you see a slice of the infinite, so wide, yet so gentle. And that feeling melts your imagination. The strangest thing about the scale of Andromeda is not that it is large, but that it is large in a slow way. If you try to grasp it, your mind will resist. Try to understand how far it is, how wide it is, how many stars it holds, and your thoughts will wake up. But if you let go and look at it only as a patch of light, its size stops being something to explain. It becomes a breath that does not belong to your body, but to something much larger. The breath of a galaxy, the breath of space, the breath of light that has traveled so long. It has learned to breathe instead of run. You do not need to follow that breath. You only need to float with it. When Andromeda opens inside your mind, your own breathing slows. No forcing, no trying, no adjusting. It simply follows the same gentle shift that the universe uses as it expands into itself. Then, the scale of Andromeda is no longer a size. It becomes a rhythm, and that rhythm is enough to carry you one layer deeper into the quiet. When you let yourself float inside the soft circle of Andromeda's light, you begin to notice something strange. The more you think about its size, the more awake you become. The more you feel its size, the deeper you sink. That is why we do not use numbers tonight. not because numbers are not beautiful, but because numbers belong to the daytime, where the mind is sharp, fast, and always working. Tonight belongs to slow breaths, to gentle darkness, and to the kind of light that has traveled too far to care about logic anymore. Keep looking at Andromeda, not with your eyes, but with the quiet glow inside your mind, where everything large becomes soft. There are things that are large and always make sound when they move. A falling tree, a big wave, a strong wind, even a night train rumbling through the distance. But some things are so large, they do not need to make any sound at all. Andromeda belongs to the second kind. It is so large, it does not need to overwhelm anyone. It simply lies there, across the sky, like a faint line of light, not strong enough to wake a sleeping person, but gentle enough to slow the breathing of someone still awake. A galaxy that large does not want to be understood. It wants to be felt. Felt through stillness, felt through empty space, felt through the softness of light, stretched out across space, that has expanded like an invisible pair of lungs. You do not need to know how many times larger it is than the Milky Way. You only need to know this: it is the largest thing that enters your night, and yet it enters in the gentlest possible way. Imagine a cold night where you lie outside. The air touches your skin, but instead of tightening, your mind opens. The borders inside your head blur. The lines dissolve. Your thoughts loosen like warmth rising from a cup of tea. Andromeda does that too. It does not expand in the sky, because the sky is already wide enough for it. It expands inside you. It gives you a feeling as if your chest has gained an extra room, larger, darker, softer. A room made for things that are both enormous and gentle. When you breathe in, it feels like Andromeda enters you a little more. When you breathe out, it feels like you let its width flow outward. In that slow movement, the universe and your body share the same rhythm, a rhythm so calm it feels like a lake. After the wind has gone to sleep, there is something interesting about huge objects. When you look from far enough away, you do not see their shape. You only see their presence. The night sky, with thousands of stars, normally pulls your attention everywhere. But when Andromeda drifts into your sight, every star becomes background. Not because the stars fade, not because Andromeda becomes bright, but because your brain starts to prefer softness. The mind loves sharp things in the day and soft things at night. That is why Andromeda feels large, not because it shines, but because it matches the frequency of sleep. Stars are sharp. Stars are pointed. Stars flicker. Andromeda is soft, round, blended, flowing, a giant galaxy that feels like a night lamp placed at the far end of a room. A giant galaxy that appears like warm steam rising from a cup. A giant galaxy that never tightens your chest. This is the kind of largeness that belongs to night. Try this. Instead of imagining Andromeda as an object, imagine it as the space itself. Not an object inside space, but the entire space is Andromeda. You cannot outline it. You cannot frame it. You cannot fit it into one shape. You can only sit inside it, the way a drop of water sits inside the sea. When you accept that a galaxy can surround you without touching you, its size stops being size. It becomes an environment, both far and close, both drifting and still, both expanding and resting. That is the nature of truly large things. They do not crush you. They let you dissolve into openness, dissolve into a place without edges, dissolve into light that has traveled 2.5 million years, only to arrive as a soft curve. Some nights you lie down and hear cars in the distance, or the fan, or the wind. But there are nights when you hear only one thing, the wide, not silence, not sound, just the sense that space around you is opening just enough to hold you. Andromeda creates that feeling, not because it is coming closer, not because it covers the sky, not because it is bright, but because it is the largest thing in your view and does not try to prove it. And that is what makes it lull you. It lulls you with its blur. It lulls you with its width. It lulls you with its distance. It lulls you by existing, just enough to remind you that you are not alone, but not so much that you feel surrounded. If you look long enough, you will notice Andromeda does not stand still like a star, does not flash like a planet, does not blink like an airplane. It flows, not flows like a river, but flows in its faintness, like ink spreading on paper, like a smear of light, dragged gently by an unseen hand. It flows because its light has been stretched through expanding space. But you do not need that fact. You only need the feeling. It is a stream, a soft stream, a slow stream, a stream like the heartbeat of the universe when it is half asleep and half awake. A stream that shows you the night sky is not still, but a calm ocean. Andromeda is a soft boat drifting across that ocean, and you are lying on the night sand, watching it pass. If you have ever rested your ear on someone's chest to hear their heartbeat, you know the beat is not only a sound, it is a space. The space between beats, the space between breaths, the space between moments. You notice you are alive. Andromeda creates that space too. Its scale is so large. It does not imprint a shape on your mind. It opens a room where your thoughts slow, your body loosens, your worries dissolve, and sleep rises. Andromeda does not rush over you like a wave. It settles over you like a thin mist spreading across a cool field. A mist, wide but light. A galaxy, huge but gentle. A scale, beyond imagination, yet perfectly sized for the heart. When you have let Andromeda open in your mind like an embrace of light, let us take one more gentle beat into the night sky. A softer, warmer, more familiar beat. If the universe is a vast city of darkness and light, you live in a very special neighborhood. A small neighborhood, but not alone. A quiet neighborhood, but not empty. A neighborhood soft as the last breath of day. People call it by a lovely name: the local group, the local group of more than 80 galaxies. But in the sleepy science version, it is not a group of galaxies. It is the quiet neighborhood of light. And in that neighborhood, there are 3 night lamps that glow softly, inside the endless room of the universe. Milky Way, the lamp where you live. Andromeda, the dim lamp drifting far away. Triangulum, the small lamp in the corner, shy and blushing. 3 lamps, 3 warm breaths, 3 slow pulses of light. Together they make the soft heart of this neighborhood of light. Imagine stepping into a very large room. No walls, no ceiling, no doors. Only velvet darkness stretching in every direction. In that room, there are only 3 small lamps, each in a distant corner. But their light meets in the middle of the room, like 3 breaths blending together. The first lamp, the Milky Way, is the lamp you know. It is the gentle light you live in every day. Even if you never see its whole shape, it is your home. A home so wide that if you think of it too long, your mind must lie down to rest. The second lamp, Andromeda, is the far lamp your eyes can reach when you are not yet sleepy. A lamp that does not glare, it breathes a pale white light. A lamp that has crossed darkness for 2.5 million years. To meet you tonight. The third lamp, Triangulum, is smaller than the other 2, so faint the naked eye may miss it. But if you touch it with imagination, it will twinkle like a candle half hidden by a breeze. It is mentioned less often, but every quiet neighborhood needs a small lamp like that, just enough to keep balance. These 3 lamps do not try to light the whole room. They simply coexist, like 3 warm breaths in a vast space, enough for you to know the universe is not completely empty. In your neighborhood, beyond the 3 large lamps, there are many tiny lights drifting around them, like thin spots of light on the porch. These are the dwarf galaxies. But do not think of dwarf as pitiably small. Think in sleepy science terms. They are small glimmers that cannot light a room, but they are enough to keep company. If the Milky Way is the big lamp in the middle of the room, the large Magellanic Cloud and the small Magellanic Cloud are 2 soft glimmers beside it, like 2 small cats curled at the lamp base. If Andromeda is the distant lamp, dozens of faint glimmers drift around it like fireflies circling a flame. No glimmer is strong. No glimmer crowds another. No glimmer makes noise. They simply circle quietly, like small rings drawn by specks of light in a bedroom. If you look at the local group long enough, you will see that this neighborhood is not crowded, not bustling, not chaotic. It is a neighborhood, populated enough to avoid loneliness, but sparse enough to remain quiet. A neighborhood you would live in all your life, just to hear the light breathe. Imagine you live in a small house, and 3 other houses stand very far away, each with a night lamp always on. You do not hear them talk. You do not hear footsteps. You do not hear doors. But you know they are there, because light from their small windows slides through the night and touches an invisible wall between you and them. Milky Way, Andromeda, Triangulum are like those 3 houses. You do not hear their voices. You do not see their motion. You do not feel their warmth. But their light, though faint to the point of nearly fading, is enough for you to know this neighborhood has neighbors. Neighbors who do not speak, but exist with you. Sometimes that is the quietest kind of presence. The universe is normally complicated. radiation, gas flows, stellar winds, quasars, black holes, things that could keep a person awake like strong coffee. But the local group is not like that. Not in the sleepy science version. Here, no one is fighting. No galaxy collides with another. There is no violent activity. No dazzling flares. Only 3 large galaxies, and more than 80 small ones, drift in the same broad space, like boats on a windless sea. You do not need to know orbits. You do not need to understand rotation speeds. You do not need to remember the names of the 80 dwarf galaxies. What you need to feel is simple. This is the quietest neighborhood, in a universe that can be overwhelmingly loud. A neighborhood that has enough people to avoid emptiness, but is gentle enough for rest. One you want to live in, just to listen to the light breathe. Imagine standing at your door at night. No noise, only wind stirring porch lamps and their light fading with each breath. The local group is like that. The Milky Way breathes in the curl of its arms. Andromeda breathes by its pale ring of light over 2.5 million years. Triangulum breathes with the faintest glow, a shy, lovely light in the neighborhood. The dwarf galaxies around them, small, soft, are like oil lamps along the lane, swaying with gravity and settling back. No one pushes. No one shines louder than another. No one demands attention. They simply drift and hold each other by a very gentle force, like a light hand on a dear friend's shoulder. You cannot see the wind in the local group, but you can see the light move, and that movement makes this place the quietest neighborhood in the universe. If you were to blur every galaxy in the local group and keep only their paths, you would see very slow curves, so slow your eyes cannot detect motion. They look like thin pen strokes on black paper, orbits like ribbons, soft rings finding a place to sleep. Andromeda moves toward the Milky Way very slowly. The Milky Way turns gently around its core. Triangulum glides like a small fish in a wide tank. Dwarf galaxies swirl around Andromeda, like a cluster of fireflies around a single flame. Altogether, they form a moving picture. You can see only if you let your mind completely loosen. This is not vigorous motion. This is the motion of sleep. Slow enough for you to know you remain awake, gentle enough for your eyes to start to dim. Every neighborhood has 3 background sounds: the sound of wind, the sound of lamps, the sound of silence. In the local group, the 3 large galaxies are those background sounds. Milky Way low, warm, familiar hum. Andromeda, a suspended, thin tone from afar. Triangulum, a light high note like a wind chime. If you close your eyes, you may hear those 3 tones together. Without noise, Milky Way keeps a steady rhythm, like the even breathing of someone deeply asleep. Andromeda lengthens its tone, like the string of a distant instrument, gently plucked. Triangulum flickers occasionally, a metallic tap in the night, then quiet again. Together they make the softest background music the universe composes. That music is not for morning. It is for those who want to sink but are not yet ready to switch off completely. Look at the dwarf galaxies, the tiny specks around the Milky Way and Andromeda. They are not bright, not strong, not large, but they have a special role. They make the neighborhood feel populated. A small glimmer near the Milky Way does not aspire to be the main star. It only wants to be near. A speck around Andromeda does not try to make a spiral. It simply wants to go along. At night, small things always feel warmer than large things. A candle is warmer than a headlight. An oil lamp is warmer than a high aurora. A firefly is warmer than the Milky Way seen from far away. And the dwarf galaxies carry that warmth. Their presence does not make you alert. It does not wake you. It only makes you feel accompanied. A neighborhood should not only have big lamps, it needs small glimmers to balance the expanse. Elsewhere in the universe, galaxies spin fast. Stars explode. Matter collapses. Gamma rays burst. Hot gas rages like storms. But in the local group, everything is slow. So slow that if you stand on the edge of the Milky Way and look toward Andromeda, you will see the two large galaxies approach each other, like two boats drawing nearer on a glassy lake at dusk. No waves, no flares, no shaking, only two halos of light, inching closer over billions of years, like two old hands seeking each other in the dark. The local group lets things go at their own pace without rush. That is the calm that other cosmic regions rarely have. In a universe with no edges, near means little, far means little. So each group of galaxies creates a different idea, a word humans only use for small places. Family, Milky Way, Andromeda, Triangulum, and the dwarf galaxies are bound not by distance, but by living together in the same soft space. A galaxy at the edge of the local group may never meet the Milky Way, but its light is still part of the common symphony. When you look at the sky, you look at a tiny piece of that family of light. You belong to the Milky Way. Milky Way belongs to the local group. Local group belongs to the cosmic web. But in the evening, especially nights like this, all complex terms melt away, and only this feeling remains. You live in a quiet neighborhood, a neighborhood of light, a neighborhood that does not abandon anyone, right where you need to be. If you shrink yourself into a small point of light and put yourself in the local group, you will notice you are not the center. You are not the edge. You are not in a special position. You are not the most important place. You are exactly where you belong, at a spot where the light is gentle enough not to hurt, where the darkness is soft enough to hold you, where galaxies are quiet enough not to keep you awake, where the universe is wide enough you do not feel crushed, but not so wide that you feel lost. The local group is not the strongest place in the universe, but it is a place quiet enough for life to form. A neighborhood, beautiful in ways few notice, but warmer than almost anywhere else. When you become familiar with the gentle presence of the three large lamps in this neighborhood, you begin to see that the local group is not only where galaxies live, it is how the universe chooses to arrange rest. Not noisy like giant clusters, not chaotic like quasar regions, not crowded like places packed with tens of thousands of galaxies. Local group instead is a region where the universe seems to have exhaled deeply and decided to let everything lie down a bit. Here, even light softens, even motion gentles, even time unhurried. You are looking at a corner of the universe designed for sleep. Imagine standing at your front door in the night. No noise, only porch lights breathing faintly, and their light slowly fading in rhythm. The local group is like that. Milky Way breathes in the curl of its arms. Andromeda breathes by its slow ring. Triangulum breathes with small, shy glows. The dwarf galaxies nearby tilt and return, moving faintly with the gentle wind of gravity. They do not jostle. They do not outshine. They keep quiet company. They drift together, held by a gracious force, like a hand on a friend's shoulder. You are in a place where the pace is slow, the space is wide, and the light is gentle. This is a neighborhood of belonging in an infinite sea. Let your mind settle down one more layer, for this part is not about galaxies, not about distances, not about structure. This part is only about light, not the light you see every day. Street lights, screen light, stove light, the light that refuses to sleep, but the light that has traveled so far that it is tired itself. The light of Andromeda, light that left ancient stars, when Earth had no people, no stories, no one to name the moon, no language yet for the word beauty. That light crossed 2.5 million years of darkness, leaving no footprints, no trail, only a faint streak you see in the night sky. And tonight we will tell its story. Not with numbers, not with spectra, not with hard science, but by the way that light feels, by the way it breathes, by the way it exists. After everything around it has changed a million times, if you hold a speck of dust before your eyes, it will fall in a few seconds. If you light a candle, its flame will go out when the breeze passes. If you look at a beam of light, it is thin enough that you think touching it would make it melt like fog on glass. But the light of Andromeda is different, fragile like the dust of memory, yet steadfast like reminders time cannot erase. A photon, a tiny particle of light you cannot see, left a star in Andromeda when glaciers had not yet formed on Earth, when humans did not yet stand upright, when nature had no names. It goes through unnamed empty regions of space, through layers of darkness with no horizon, through patches of space stretching in time with the universe's breath. And it does not stop. No one watches it. No one follows it. No one records the journey. It just goes. It goes with a patience no living creature can have, with a persistence no grain of sand could endure, with a silence no music can mimic. The light of Andromeda passed through all of that, only to rest on your retina for a single moment. That moment is a gift of 2.5 million years. People often say, look at the sky to understand the future. But the gentler truth is this. When you look at Andromeda, you are looking into the past. Not 1 year, not a century, not 1,000 years, but 2.5 million years. You are seeing light from a time when humans did not yet know they would exist. A time when dreams had not been named. A time when Earth was an unwritten page. That light left stars unseen by ancient eyes, animals now extinct never seen, deep-sea creatures never known. But you see it, not because you are special, because you are alive at the moment that photon reaches this planet. It has traveled millions of years, just to shine into the eyes of a passerby looking up. And in that moment, you become the recipient of a letter from an ancient age even time can no longer remember. That is why Andromeda is not only beautiful, it is sacred. People think light tells stories by color: red, blue, white, yellow. But Andromeda's light does not tell its story by color. It tells by age. By the age of its journey, it tells of unnamed dark regions, silent voids, horizons with no edges, expansions of space, other galaxies drifting past. It tells without words, without language, without signals. It simply is, like a letter without words, but full of meaning. And your eyes, even if they do not decode spectra, even if they cannot read cosmic signals, still understand one thing. This is light of the past, a very distant past, a very quiet past. Some say, light travels so fast it cannot remember anything. But actually, light carries memory. Not memory as images, not memory as sound, but memory as breath. The breath of the star that sent it, the breath of the galaxy that held it in its spiral arms, the breath of space that opened so it could pass through. When you look at Andromeda, you are looking at the memory of stars long extinguished, the memory of explosions cooled down, the memory of nebulae dissolved, the memory of a universe much younger than today. And all those memories combine into a faint streak. Not complicated, not loud, not asking you to decode. Just look and let your mind touch the memory of something that lived far longer than any creature on Earth. There is a wonder about light. When it first leaves a star, it is strong, hot, bright as fire. But the farther it goes, the softer it becomes. Like warm tea cooling on the rim of a cup, like a bell note fading in space, like a voice growing low as the night falls. Andromeda's light has become so soft that when it touches your eyes, it does not startle you. It does not wake you. It does not quicken your heart. It touches you like a bedtime blessing, a blessing that crossed 2.5 million years to arrive at the right place, the right time, the right night. You cannot hear it, but you can feel it. I have traveled very long to meet you. Let me lull you for a while. In daytime, time is hard, sharp, like numbers on a clock that give you no rest. But at night, especially when you look at Andromeda, time becomes soft. No minutes, no hours, no calendar days. Only the moment the light touches you, the moment your eyes soften, the moment your mind opens like a wisp of smoke. Time is no longer motion. Time becomes space. A space you can lie into, like dropping a pebble into still water. Andromeda does not make you understand time. It makes you feel time. Feel that time can drift like mist, like breath, like light that has traveled millions of years, only to dissolve into your eyes. Remember, the light you see from Andromeda is not like sunlight, not like streetlight. It does not shine. It whispers. That faint streak of light is like the small voice of someone far away, but speaking exactly when you need quiet. It does not force you to listen. It does not force you to understand. It does not demand a response. It speaks the way truly important things always speak. Lightly, slowly, far away, but enough for you to feel. Let your mind feel the light of Andromeda as a very distant breath, and let us go deeper into that light, not to understand it, but to listen to it. For the light from Andromeda is not only what touches your eyes, it is a storyteller that keeps memories the universe has forgotten. Not because it wants to tell, not because it was tasked to, but because light, by its nature, does not look back. Light does not turn around. It does not change its mind. It does not hesitate. It only goes, and along the way, it gathers all the breaths of the universe. There is a quiet wonder no eye easily sees. Space does not stand still. It stretches, expands, lengthens, like a shimmery cloth gently pulled at both ends. And light, as it crosses that stretching place, does not keep its original shape. It stretches with it. Its color softens. Its energy grows low. Its rhythm becomes long and lazy. If the light that left Andromeda was a sharp harp note, by the time it reaches you, it is only the lingering tone, falling like a drop of rain on a rooftop. That light becomes a soft memory, not the sender's memory, not the receiver's memory, but the light's own memory of the moment it left its home star. You cannot hear that memory, but you can feel it. You feel it as your eyelids grow heavier, as your breath lengthens, as the sky feels somehow closer, though it is still millions of light years away. When light leaves a star, it carries the star's shape. But in 2.5 million years, many stars have gone out. Many have exploded. Many have cooled, turning into pale ashes, drifting inside Andromeda's arms. Their light continues on. It is a portrait, a soft copy of what used to shine but now exists only in memory. When that light touches you tonight, you are looking at stars that no longer exist, patches of brightness no longer blazing, explosions long cool, clouds of gas dissolved into darkness. You are not seeing Andromeda as it is now. You are seeing Andromeda in its infancy, like looking at an old photograph of a friend you never met, and feeling the life inside the picture despite their absence. Some people say light from a galaxy carries a map of the universe, positions, structure, composition, motion. But in our sleepy science view, light does not carry a map. It carries breath, the breath of stretching space, slow time, gentle motion, silence that lasted millions of years. If you imagine light as a living thing, you would see that it does not rush toward you. It lulls itself in space. It dozes between dark patches. It drifts like a feather caught between two very weak winds. And when it arrives, it does not knock. It simply stands at the threshold of your eyes and breathes softly. You open your eyes, it steps in. You close them, it settles in your memory like a shard of old light. There are events in the universe that no one witnesses. Collisions of galaxies, eruptions of giant stars, waves of matter moving like undersea currents, ages too cold for life, moments too hot for darkness. No one saw them. No one heard them. No one recorded them. Only light saw. Light witnesses all those moments, not with eyes, but by its continuous existence. Light does not write records, but it keeps a piece of what happened, in the way it moves, in the length of its waves, in the faded tone it carries. It is the quietest witness, and also the truest of cosmic history. And tonight you are the one receiving that witness tale. The teller has no voice, yet the story is so deep that even the silence becomes content. Across 2.5 million years, the light from Andromeda does not grow old. It does not tremble. It loses nothing of itself, but it becomes hushed, like the voice of someone who has lived long, like woodwind instruments, growing warmer with age, like the sky at very late sunset, soft and gentle. Light that leaves a star is sharp as a blade, but the light that touches you is soft as fabric. This is light that has passed through time without being harmed by it. It carries the hush of the journey, the hush of distance, the hush of time. And that hush makes it fit your sleep. New light excites. Old light soothes. Andromeda's light is old enough to lull you with its gentleness. Humans live time vertically, past, present, future. But when you look at Andromeda, you stand inside a horizontal flow of time. The light brings you back 2.5 million years, to stars that have died, to planets that never held life, to dust clouds that once shone and are now dim. And at the same time, the light places you in the present. You are breathing. You are looking. You exist at the exact moment the light arrives. Through this, the light from Andromeda joins two unrelated times into one very calm moment. That moment is where time becomes soft. Not past, not present, not future. Just a warm current of light. A current you cannot hold, but one you can lie down in. Not everyone has the time to watch the sky, but the sky always keeps a place for those who will look. So does Andromeda's light. It does not ask who you are. It does not ask your age. It does not ask how tired you are. It does not ask whether you know astronomy. It asks only one thing. Would you like to rest a while? And when you look up, it answers with the whole of its journey. This is the tale I carry from ancient times. If you wish, I will tell it in light. No force, no pull, no tug, only an invitation. An invitation for you to lean into the dark and let that story pass through your heart. Like warm water, imagine you are standing beside a very wide river, so wide you cannot see the other shore, and its water does not flow like water. It flows like light. That river belongs to the sky, and its shape is spiral. Its branches spread out like ribbons, woven together like giant arms, resting across the shoulders of the dark. This is the spiral arm of a galaxy. Not a solid object, not a real arm, but rivers of light flowing very slowly around a soft, bright center. In movies, people make them twist hard, spin fast, shine fiercely, like furious whirlpools. But the truth, and especially the truth when you look with sleepy eyes, is completely different. Spiral arms are not fast, not violent, not rushed, not storms. They are breaths. The breaths of a huge living thing, moving slowly, in a silent sky. Imagine placing your feet on sand on a moonless night. A soft wind, no waves, only faint streaks of light reflected on a black sea. The spiral arms of a galaxy look exactly like that. Only instead of water, you have stars. Billions of stars, drifting like glowing droplets, not falling, not spraying, not bursting. They drift along curves that have existed for billions of years, like ancient rivers that never dry. If you looked at a galaxy from above, you would see each spiral arm as a river of light, wrapping around another in a very slow dance, so slow you cannot tell movement from stillness. That is the breath of the galaxy. A galaxy does not hurry. It only breathes in light. If the spiral arms are rivers of light, then the dust and gas inside them are the drifting mist. Mist has no sharp shape, no strong color, no firm edge. It only softens everything it touches. In the spiral arms, it is the same. Dust clouds move like veils of mist across the sky, passing through the arms in slow rhythm, like the breath of someone deeply asleep. No one knows where they start. No one sees where they end. No one hears them move. They are the blur that makes light gentle. You cannot see the dust. You only see the light weaken. You see the colors soften. You see the spiral arms, as if covered in a thin scarf. Without dust, the spiral arms would be too sharp, too bright, too clear. But the universe prefers softness, so it wraps these faint mists around the arms, letting the galaxy keep a shy glow. And because of that, a galaxy has its sleepy beauty. Not hurried, not sharp, not intense, just enough to make you float. Spiral arms are not lines, not blades, not wheels, not hard shapes. They are streams of light, moving with the galaxy's breath. If you observed from far away, the galaxy would look like a living being inhaling. When it inhales, the spiral arms seem to stretch. Not truly stretch, but the light inside them is pulled outward as space expands, like the chest of a vast creature, lifting gently. Spiral arms do not spin fast. They do not push strongly. They simply open, like arms wanting to embrace the sky. When the galaxy exhales, the arms seem to tighten a little, not shrinking, just cooling, like light resting after drifting too long. In this way, the inhale and exhale of the galaxy become the motion of the spiral arms. No one can feel that rhythm in seconds. No one can see it in a lifetime. But if you look at a galaxy with a mind as soft as tonight, you will see the whole galaxy is breathing, breathing in light, breathing in rivers of stars, breathing in drifting mist. And you are lying inside that breath. Imagine each star as a small boat, filled with warm light. Those boats float in the spiral river of the galaxy. No rowing, no pushing, no struggling. They only drift. Drift with a flow so large they cannot see it. Drift with the breath of a body 1,000,000 times bigger. If you look closely in your imagination, you will notice that the stars in the spiral arms do not rush, do not collide, do not scatter. They sleep. Sleep in the sense that their light is steady, soft, dim, and drifting like a dream that lasts hundreds of millions of years. You do not hear water, but you hear stillness. You do not see waves, but you see curves. You do not see motion, but you see the feeling of drifting. This is the nature of spiral arms. Light boats resting on a night river. A galaxy has no sharp edges, no corners, no straight lines, no hard surface. Everything is curved. Everything is flowing. Everything is soft. The curves of the spiral arms do not look like the curves of a coil or the curves of a perfect spiral. They look like the curls of steam rising from a warm cup of tea, not predictable, yet following their own rhythm, not intentional, yet beautiful, not perfect, yet exactly right. Even if you do not understand how galaxies work, you can feel that the curves of the spiral arms are not drawn to impress. They are drawn to soothe you, as if someone took a soft brush and painted gentle arcs across the sky. just enough to let your heart loosen a little. If light is a river, then stardust is a blanket laid over that river. This blanket makes the light kinder, makes the spiral arms dimmer, turns everything into a nighttime version of the galaxy. In daylight, light is sharp. In night, light blurs. Stardust gives the galaxy its blur. Without it, the arms would shine too strongly, beautiful but sharp, majestic but waking. With dust, everything becomes soft, soft enough that even a tense mind can breathe again. Stardust does not hide light. It makes the light approachable. It makes the galaxy sleepier. It makes the sky easier to open. There is something beautiful few people notice. The spiral arms are the part of the galaxy closest to your sky, not the center, not the halo, not the dark outskirts. These rivers of light at the galaxy's edge are where the universe touches your eyes, where the galaxy stops being theory and becomes an image soft enough that your mind stops working, and clear enough that your heart knows a distant world is breathing with you. Have you ever synced your breath with someone sleeping nearby? Not on purpose, just by gently falling into their rhythm. The galaxy is the same. Its breaths last hundreds of millions of years. Yours last only seconds. Yet when you look at the spiral arms, there is a moment when the two rhythms meet. The galaxy exhales by opening its spiral arms. You inhale by opening your mind. The galaxy inhales through the slight dimming of its light. You exhale by releasing your body. A rare moment when two things separated by millions of light years share one rhythm. The galaxy does not speak, but through its breathing, it reminds you there is nothing to rush, nothing to hold, nothing to understand right now. You only need to breathe the way the galaxy breathes. Breathe with openness. Breathe with softness. Breathe with the feeling of dissolving into the sky. Spiral arms are not scientific diagrams, not models, not math. They are rivers of light that lull the universe toward sleep. They are the long breaths of a galaxy, older than every human dream. They are the gentle motions the universe uses to calm itself. And tonight, they are the lullaby, helping you soften, slow down, and drift into the deeper part of sleep. When you look at a galaxy from afar, the first thing you notice is the light, the ribbons of light drifting along the spiral arms, the dust particles floating like mist, the stars sleeping in their orbits like little boats on a night river. But if you let your gaze drift deeper, through the soft layers of light, past the thin streaks of dust, through the sleeping clouds of gas, you will find another place. A place that is not bright, not flashy, not showy, not formed into shape. A place dark, but not dark to scare you. Dark like a quiet room people use to rest. Dark like the shade under a tree on a summer noon, when the wind only brushes the surface. Dark like the stillness of a pond when the sun has not yet risen. At the center of every large galaxy, there is such a stillness. A heavy drop of dark, lying still, bothering nothing, disturbing nothing, and with no desire to stand out. It simply is there, like an anchor point. So the whole galaxy has something to orbit around. This is where gravity sleeps. When people talk about a black hole, the words they choose are loud. Swallow, pull, destroy, tear apart. But that is not the black hole in sleepy science. The black hole we tell of tonight does not swallow, does not destroy, does not burn. It just lies down and is heavy, like a round stone placed in the center of a lake. It does not make violent waves. It does not break. It does not fall into a bottomless pit. It is simply heavy. Heavy enough that the lake knows there is something resting beneath. The dark center of the galaxy is like that. A weight that gives the stars a reason not to drift away in every direction. Without that heavy point, the galaxy could not keep its shape. It would drift like clouds pushed by wind. But with the dark point at the center, everything has a gentle toward, not being pulled, not being sucked, not coerced, just like someone sleeping, and the whole house somehow quiets itself. To understand the galactic center in the softest way, set aside the idea of a hole in your mind. The dark center is not a mouth, not a deep pit, not an abyss. It is a weighted point, a weight so great that no light can rise from it, so it appears dark. But dark does not mean hostile. Sometimes dark is just a place that gives off no light, like the corner of your room when the night lamp is off. A galaxy needs a center to be stable. The universe needs places for curves to hold on to. The dark center is that fulcrum, like the hub of a wheel, like the knot that ties a kite string, like the first stone set in the circle of flowing water. It is not the cause of chaos. It is simply the keeper of rhythm, a very slow rhythm, a rhythm no one hears, a rhythm the stars feel more than they understand. Not only Andromeda, not only the Milky Way, every large galaxy has its own dark center, a point where gravity chooses to rest. It does not go anywhere. It does not travel. It does not wander through the sky. It stands still, in the middle of a sea of light. If you look from far away, every star seems to move, twist, flow, drift, dance. Only the dark point in the middle does not budge. That is what makes it so quietly calm. In a world that keeps turning, it is the thing that stays the same. Not because it is stubborn, but because it does not need to move. It found its place when the galaxy was very young. If you have ever sat next to a very gentle friend, someone who does not speak much, but whose presence quiets the whole room, you will understand how a galactic center works. The gravity there does not pull like a hand grabbing your sleeve. It does not squeeze like a violent current. It does not tighten like a rope. It simply holds, holding in the way you hold a pillow while you sleep. Not tight, not strong, not urgent. Holding like a place in your heart that remains for the things you love even if you do not touch it every day. The gravity at the galactic center is the calmest position in the galaxy, and yet it is what keeps the rest in motion. If the spiral arms are breath, the dark center is the backbone, unshowy, but indispensable. That is the most beautiful thing about a galactic center. It does not try to be something. It does not compete with the bright stars. It does not claim space. It does not demand notice. It is the place where light moves aside, so gravity can sleep, as if the galaxy says, "This is a place to rest. Do not make noise." When you look at an image of a galaxy, you will always see a dim spot in the middle, a small ring, a darker swirl. a shadowed dot. But do not think it is frightening. It is the place where light willingly gives way, so gravity can be still. No one is dragged in. No one is pulled away. No struggle. Just a place too heavy for light to stand, so the light steps aside. Like someone sleeping in the middle of a room, and people walk around gently to avoid waking them. Every galaxy has a center, but that center is not the source of all activity, not the place of explosive energy, not the grand image. It is a quiet heart, a heart that does not beat fast, does not beat loudly, does not need to be heard. It beats just slowly enough to keep everything alive. If a galaxy is a living body, the dark center is the place where stability is kept, not the place of light, but the place of weight, not the place of noise, but the place of calm, so calm that if you put your hand there, it feels like placing your hand on cold stone, amid an old mountain, so calm that if you put your ear close, you would hear only a tempo very far away, very deep, very faint. That tempo is the galaxy's rhythm. The spiral arms, the stars, the dust and gas, all drift around the dark center, like clouds drifting around a mountain peak. No violent collisions, no frenzied whirlpools, no storms, just clouds moving with the wind, embracing the mountain they can never touch. The dark center is that mountain, steady, deep, unshaken. The spiral arms float around it with a natural respect, as if every light knows this is a place to be left alone. No fighting, no forcing, no crowding, as though the universe designed everything so the galactic center could always sleep. No matter how fast a galaxy spins, no matter how stars change places, no matter the rhythm of light in the arms, the center remains unawakened. It does not tremble, does not shift, does not make waves. It is a still point, amid 1,000 motions. A still point, unchanged by the rhythms around it. Not like the moon following Earth, not like a star in orbit, not like a planet on a cycle. The dark center follows no one. It simply is. A dark point, big enough to hold the galaxy, yet quiet enough not to alarm it. There is something strange. When you look at the dark center, the sky around it seems to lower its voice. Stars become less sharp. Space feels less cold. Streams of light slow. Thoughts quiet. That very darkness makes everything soften. Not darkness that hides, but darkness that invites everything to lie down a little. When gravity sleeps, the universe is no longer tense. When gravity sleeps, time is no longer sharp. When gravity sleeps, you may also sleep. You see, the galactic center is not the deep mouth that people often describe. It is not a monster, not a threat. It is a heavy drop of dark, lying in the middle of a bright galaxy, like a stone in a broad river. It asks for nothing. It destroys nothing. It calls no one. It simply rests. And in the moment you understand that, you will feel yourself soften a little, lighten a little, closer to sleep than at almost any other time of day. When you look at Andromeda from afar, you see a large galaxy, a soft fingerprint of light drifting across the glass of night. But if you let your gaze soften and open like the sky opens when no one is watching, you will begin to notice something else. Not the big bright stars, not the dramatic spiral arms, not the faint halo, but the small specks, specks so faint that, among a sky full of stars, they are like the dim breaths of a candle about to go out. No one pays attention to them by day. No one mentions them in the big stories of the cosmos. No one remembers their names. But tonight, we will tell the story of those specks, the dwarf galaxies, the small companions of Andromeda. In sleepy science, they are not dwarf galaxies. They are the fireflies on the porch of a large house called Andromeda. Imagine Andromeda as a large oil lamp placed on a porch on a summer night. The lamp is not blinding. It does not make anyone squint, but it makes a warm, soft pool of light. Around it, little fireflies drift to their own slow rhythm. No formations, no orders, no rules. They drift side to side. They drift slowly. They brighten a little, then fade. That is the picture of the dwarf galaxies around Andromeda. Not loud, not forceful, not shining like the big galaxies. They simply exist as tiny lights that make the night feel warmer. They do not need names. They do not need praise. They do not need notice. They only need to circle the big lamp in the cosmic neighborhood. If Andromeda is a mother of light, with spiral arms that stretch for hundreds of thousands of light years, then the dwarf galaxies around it are like small children, playing in the yard, never too far away, never too close. They are held there, not by force or coercion, but by familiarity, like children circling a parent. They loop, they hop, they drift, and they always find their way home. Not because of a pull, but because of a sense of belonging. The dwarf galaxies around Andromeda do the same. They are not dragged in, not locked into rigid orbits. They simply choose to remain near that large, warm glow. A choice that needs no words, only a warm halo, so their space feels like home. A big star can light up a whole region. A large galaxy can be a cosmic beacon. But a dwarf galaxy cannot do that. It lacks brightness. It lacks stars. It lacks energy. Yet the faint things soothe the sky. In a way, the large objects cannot. A dwarf galaxy does not overwhelm. It does not excite the mind. It does not demand analysis. It does not raise difficult questions. It simply makes the sky soft. A small speck of light in the vast dark soothes you more than a bright light in chaos. The dwarf galaxies know this. They do not try to be big. They do not try to be bright. They do not try to be brilliant. They are enough. And sometimes, enough is beautiful. If you zoom into the area around Andromeda, you will see dwarf galaxies, drifting in their tiny orbits, like specks drifting in water, not straight, not abrupt, not continuous, not decisive. They drift with a kind of innocence, as if the universe saved a corner for these little children of light to play without scolding. Their motion is the universe's version of a leaf floating on a very gentle stream. No steering, no resistance, no destination, just drifting. And that drifting is the lullaby rhythm the universe composes. A rhythm for those tired of the fast motion of day and who want the unhurried motion of night. Under the night sky, people often look up for the bright stars, for brilliant galaxies, for strong streaks of light. But when the night runs deep, when your eyes relax, when your mind slips into a quiet mode, it is the smallest lights that keep you company the longest. A big star can wake you. A bright galaxy can make your mind chase. But a small speck, weak and drifting slowly, is the gentlest thing and the easiest to fall asleep to. Dwarf galaxies play that role. They do not tell the big story. They do not reveal huge scales. They do not make your heart skip. They simply whisper, "I am here. I am small, but I am here." And sometimes, in an infinite universe, smallness is the warmest thing. Imagine the cosmic neighborhood as a very large orchestra. Andromeda is the deep cello. The Milky Way is the wide piano. Triangulum is a thin violin. What are the dwarf galaxies? They are the soft breaths at the back of the score. You cannot pick them out by ear. You cannot point to their notes. But without them, the music would not be whole. Without the dwarf galaxies, the local group would be too wide, too cold, too empty. There are things so small no one notices. But when they are gone, you notice a hollow that is hard to fill. The dwarf galaxies are that filling, not brilliant, not noticeable, but keeping the neighborhood's background tone gentle. One of Andromeda's loveliest traits is how it lives alongside its small companions. It does not cover them. It does not swallow them. It does not shadow them. It opens wide enough for them to have their own orbits, warm enough for them to stay near, soft enough for their faint light to be seen. This balance is rare in the universe, where the strong often dominate the weak. Here, strong and weak become parts of a single complete picture. Andromeda is the big wall. The dwarf galaxies are the patterns on the wall. Together they make beauty, not from bright force, but from harmony. Each dwarf galaxy around Andromeda is its own story. A story of faint light that does not go out. A story of slow motion that does not stop. A story of existence that needs no attention. A story often overlooked when humans look only at the large things. But the dwarf galaxy does not need to be told loudly. Its story is spoken in silence. The silence of weak light. The silence of slow motion. The silence of a small orbit around something overwhelmingly large. And that silence makes them fit the night, the slow breath, the drifting, and sleep itself. When you look toward Andromeda, your eyes meet a large galaxy. But when you allow your mind to soften, you will see the small specks next to it are just as important. Not because they are strong, not because they are large, not because they stand out, but because they make the sky feel complete. A space too vast can make you feel lost, but a single small speck beside a large light makes the sky feel nearer. The dwarf galaxies do this for Andromeda, and they do it for you. They remind you that, though you are small, you still belong to a larger picture. And sometimes, the smallest thing is the thing that makes the night feel the warmest. When you look at Andromeda in the night, you see a galaxy drifting, a faded fingerprint of light on the dim glass of the sky. But what you do not see, and do not need to see right now, is a distant motion, happening more slowly than any motion a human has ever witnessed. Our Milky Way and Andromeda are moving closer to each other, not like two trains rushing, not like two swirling storms, not like two arrows meeting head-on, but like two rivers of light flowing toward one another. across a very wide sea of darkness, very calm and very tired. They are not in a hurry. They do not rush. They have no purpose. This is the universe moving in its most natural way. If two rivers flow the same way, sooner or later they meet. Andromeda is moving toward the Milky Way at a speed so slow that no words can describe it. No one can feel it. No one can see it. No instrument measures it in single seconds. That speed is as small as the heartbeat of a creature sleeping deep under the sea. If you spent your whole life watching, you would not see it get any noticeably closer. If humans live for thousands more years, we still would not see a clear change. This is motion of billions of years, not of one human lifetime. And the beautiful thing is, because it is so slow, it does not create worry. It does not create tension. It does not press on the mind. It creates a gentle sense of waiting. Like when you stand and watch two clouds move so slowly that you are not sure they are moving at all. But time knows, and time brings the two galaxies a little nearer, like two friends, gradually finding the same chair. In a very large room, if you have heard that the Milky Way and Andromeda will collide, put that word aside. Collide is a daytime word, a sharp word with a loud sound, with violent images. But the nature of two galaxies is not like that. A galaxy is not a rock, not a solid planet, not a compact object. They are seas of light in which empty space outnumbers substance. When two seas of light meet, no one strikes the other. They drift into each other. They blend. They mingle like two mists, dissolving into each other in a cold morning. No explosion, no shaking, no pain, no destruction, only light fills the empty spaces of light, and darkness fills the empty spaces of darkness. When you understand that, you will see that the future of the two galaxies is not impact, but a deep meeting, a meeting that wakes no one, a meeting that happens in silence, like a conversation between two old friends whose every sentence becomes slow. We humans are afraid of collision, afraid of strong contact, afraid of losing control, afraid of being swallowed. But the universe is not afraid. The universe does not fear galaxies, finding one another, like a tree that does not fear the wind, like the sea that does not fear clouds, like the sun that does not fear the dawn. Everything drifts according to the law of being as gentle as possible. Two galaxies approach not because they are pulled hard, but because the space between them is narrowing by the universe's own slow rhythm of expansion. It is not a pull, it is a response, like two drops of water placed near each other that find each other by the softness of their surfaces. No one commands, no one rushes, no one pushes from behind. They simply come near. If you can imagine this, let it appear very slowly in your mind. The Milky Way and Andromeda are two dancers on a very large stage, so large that light takes millions of years to travel from one to the other. They do not dance quickly. They do not spin. They do not lift each other. They do not change positions often. They move half a step in millions of years, a very small step, enough for the universe to know the dance is still happening. You do not see that step. You do not feel that rhythm. But the universe does. The universe feels, and the universe smiles softly. Each time the two galaxies move closer by a very small amount. If you look up at the night sky, you can imagine that each time Andromeda appears softly to your eyes, it is a sign that the dance continues. Not rushed, not pressed, not hurried, just moving nearer. When the two galaxies merge in the future, nothing turns off. Nothing disappears. Nothing collapses. Almost all the stars will pass by one another. Because galaxies are mostly empty space, that meeting will not be painful, not chaotic. It will be like two mists drifting into one another under a streetlight. Light blends with light, darkness blends with darkness, and everything becomes a new galaxy that is more beautiful, broader, but still gentle. Like the two old galaxies, that future galaxy will have many names, but in sleepy science, we call it the bigger home where light can sleep. If someone lives in the far future, billions of years from now, and they look up at the sky, they will see a different scene than you, but still as calm as the night you see now. Andromeda will no longer be a distant faint streak. It will open into a field of light, stretching across the sky. Stars from Andromeda will mix with stars from the Milky Way. Gas, dust, and veils of mist will weave together, like two rivers joining into one great lake. But that sky will not frighten people. It will not overwhelm them. It will not frighten them. It will become a warmer sky, richer, and also gentler, because light, when it blends, does not fight. It dissolves. It mixes. It finds a new balance. In silence, you might think, this happens far in the future. How does it concern me? But you forget that. You live in the Milky Way. You are light within its light. You are part of this galaxy, like a speck of dust, in the faint streak of a spiral arm. And when the Milky Way drifts toward Andromeda, you, in some distant version of existence, are drifting with it. Not the you of today, not the you of tomorrow, but the light your body will become and will continue to become as you dissolve into the universe. The universe has its own way of including everything in its very slow dances. Even if you are no longer here, you remain part of that flow, like dust in light, like breath in the wind, like memory in the mist. Drop the word collision. Keep the word meeting. Drop the thought of a storm. Keep the image of two rivers of light, slowly coming together across a long night of the universe. No haste, no jerk, no chaos. Just two galaxies finding each other by the longest breath space has ever known. And you, though small, are still inside that story. A story that does not awaken, that does not speed the heart, but makes you soften, settle, and drift a little farther into the sleep of the cosmos.